So good evening, guys. It's Joette with Balloon Coach, and I am delighted that you are joining us tonight to talk about a topic that I think is really important, which is confidence. Oftentimes people say, Joette, how did you grow your business? How did you go to networking events and talk about yourself? And one thing I'm very lucky about is as a child, my mom raised me to kind of be confident and to go out and introduce myself and talk to people. But not always super confident. There are times where I go into a situation and I do feel uncomfortable. But with years and years of practice from 2003 to now, things flow a little bit more easily and I feel more comfortable in settings. So I was really excited when I met Nick and found out her background and that she did an amazing presentation for our local business group here that I went to, and I asked her if she would come in because she has a podcast, so I know she's used to talking on the computer, and asked her if she could share her thoughts with us and help those of you guys in Balloon Coach community out some. So I'm delighted she's here tonight, and I'm glad you're here to give a presentation. So while we wait for people to join us for the next 4 minutes, let me go ahead and see who we've got and say hello. Tonight we've got Yasmin, welcome. And we've got Carmen from Massachusetts. Nick is here with me from Lakeland, Florida. Yay! We've got John Meyer from Canton, Ohio. Welcome, John. We've got Gia from Los Angeles, California. And I am so excited because in 3 weeks, I will be flying to LA and getting to spend about 5 days there with Judy Brott and some other balloon friends before I head down to World Balloon Convention in San Diego. So I'm really getting excited to have some time in California in less than a month. It's gonna, yay! All right, so we've got Angela this evening with us from Point Verde, Florida. Welcome. Glad you're with us. And let's see, yay, we've got Marianne from San Antonio, Texas. Hey, Marianne, great to have you on tonight. And Danielle from New Orleans. Yay, lots of great people from our workshops. Glad to have you guys here. We've got Kim from upstate New York. And yay. And we've got Lena from California, another California person. Wonderful. And we've got Tracy from Olympia, Washington. Excellent. I always love having folks here from coast to coast. And we'll see who else joins us in this evening. We've got about 2 more minutes till we get right into the content. So wanted to just give you guys an update on BalloonCoach.com. If you've not checked out our website lately, we've had a bit of a facelift and we have some new offerings. One is our Decor 101 program that allows you to learn from home how to really work hard on your business and how to be a professional balloon person. Basically, we have 2 options. One, it's just hearing from me, and the other one gives you 8 replays from our Passport to Success program. I've picked out the top 8 that I think somebody who's really new to the industry or somebody who's trying to refocus on growing their business and getting more money in the door would really learn from. So both of those packages are available for you to learn from online. And then our trainings for promotions and profits. The thing that I'm super excited about is our Orlando retreat that is coming up in November. And get all the details here about that. You do not want to miss this opportunity if you're serious about being able to take your business to the next level wherever you're currently at, be able to work one-on-one with our instructors, and to have some amazing photos from our 4 style photo shoots that we're going to be during the event. Also, you have a wonderful opportunity to do Behind the Magic tour, Business Behind the Magic with the Disney Institute. So check out all those details online. You can go ahead now and reserve your hotel room to make sure you get the best rate without any deposit. And then for the actual retreat, you can do it with the bonus of Disney or without. And both of those options are there for you to pay in 6 payments, 3 payments, or get it all taken care of up front. So wanted to let you know that those things are there, plus our downloads, coaching, blog, all of our other awesome resources. Check it out. Nicole, or Nick, I keep messing that up because I see your name saying.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Nick. So, hey, Bridget, welcome, guys. So I'm going to ask all my people who are visiting with us tonight and watching, I'm asking you if you could go ahead and turn off your video for right now while we're having the presentation, so that way it's not distracting to other people. But then at the end of the presentation, feel free to turn your camera back on to ask questions if you like. And while we're talking, please know that you can put your questions here on the side into the chat. Yay! Gail and Paul are here from Fort Myers, and we've got Yasmin from Germantown, Maryland. Great to have you guys on with us tonight. And let me take it off of screen share for mine, and then Nick, that allows you to do screen share from your side.
Okay.
And so guys, anytime you have a question, feel free to ask. All right, so what I want to just make sure is that my chat just didn't disappear on me.
There we go. Can you all see that?
All right, so let us know real quick that yes, you are seeing her screen that says confidence and communication. Yay, we got it.
Sweet.
Yay. So guys, this is Nick. I'm going to let her take over, and I'm going to go on to mute so you guys don't hear me. And then at the end, we can ask questions and jump in, and you can unmute yourself to ask those questions when Nick opens it up for that. So Nick, thank you so much for being here tonight and giving us some insights on things that are really going to help us with our businesses and just with life in general.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. You guys are in great hands with Joette. She's like an amazing person. I was just talking about you today. But I wanted to just introduce myself. You can call me Nick or Nicole. Either one is fine, but usually most people call me Nick. And I'll just tell you real quick about myself. And when I teach, I am very informal, but I do give a lot of information. So if you do have a notebook or you want to take notes, I know there's going to be a replay. I think she's recording this for you guys as well. So, but my expertise is in just confidence and communication. Like it's huge. And I, like Joette said, have been a podcaster. That's kind of a blurry picture of me. I've had an old podcast. That was my first show, Real Men Only, in real time. So I would interview entrepreneurs who, you know, fought through the imposter syndrome and all those things. And we're trying to manage their business and their life, like their family life. So I was really curious about the balance between those things. So that was my podcasting introduction. And I've been podcasting for about four and a half years now. But the real thing I have is been therapy for being a therapist for years. I was actually today trying to think how long I've been doing it. I have a master's in psychology, and I have a lot of listening under my belt. And the thing about listening is it makes you a really good communicator when you're hearing what's going on. And the number one person that you've got to listen to first is yourself. And so I'm going to talk a lot about that today tonight in the presentation. I was also a missionary in Central America. Just a little fun fact. I actually worked with gang members, and we started a teen challenge over there. We were the only program throughout all of Central America that mixed the two most violent gangs throughout Central America. So that was fun. Those were good times. And right now I am doing Get Heart Media. I have a show called Get Heart Radio, and a lot of it is really about the internal work, personal development, things that we have to look at and confront in order to get better at communicating, better at connecting, and better at confidence, really. So let's dive right into it. And I do tend to go fast, so I'll try to slow it down. But like I said, we'll do questions, and I always recap. So if you miss anything, we'll definitely go back. But what is confidence? You know, we have this idea of what it is. We know it when we see it. We recognize it. It's the guy who can walk into the room and just feel comfortable in any room. That's the key. He can walk into any room with anyone in there. There could be Bill Gates, or it could be a ton of women, and he feels comfortable. So we recognize confidence when we see it in someone. It's the woman who walks up to a total stranger and starts a conversation effortlessly. For some people, this would just, you know, they would rather die than have to go and do that. And I do a lot of public speaking, and that, that's where Joette and I met. And so that is literally, I think it's the second, somebody asked me the first, it's like up there with the first or second biggest fear among people is public speaking. And honestly, walking up to a total stranger and starting a conversation is a little bit like that. So it is definitely, when we see someone doing it, we're like, man, that person is super confident. So where does it come from? We tend to, I just want to kind of like, you kind of have to know evil before you can really know good. So I want you to think like, this is what our ideology of what we think confidence is. We think it's, if you did something well, your achievement, or you're just really good at your job, you do things well, or you're just constantly, being praised. And, I work a lot with parents and kids, and I hear my parents tell me, well, I thought, I'm praising my kid all the time and they just have low confidence. I don't understand. So there's some myths. I would almost use the word myth, when it comes to confidence. Like this is what we think makes confidence. And it does in a tiny way, but there's more to it than we really know. A lot of people think being rich and beautiful and power, you're automatically confident. But that isn't always true. The people that receive some of the most praise lack the most self-confidence. And so, there's something internal about confidence that we're not understanding, that we can tap into. So what's the answer? The answer is raising our self-esteem, our internal self-esteem, and it's very connected to confidence. And I'll break this down here with these next slides. So self-esteem is something that obviously is internal, like I said, and it's you with you. And I'm always telling people, when they're having problems with their employees, or they're having problems in their business, or maybe with their spouse or their kids, I'll say, okay, well, let's look at you. Let's not look at what the kid is doing and how they're off the chain, or why you can't get this client to pay for this package or whatever. Let's find out what's going on in you. How are you feeling? How are you even pitching the product? Or how are you telling your child, hey, I don't want you doing this? Are you doing it out of complete, fear and control? Like, what's going on with you? And self-esteem is an internal thing. It has to do with the way you think about yourself, the reputation you have with yourself. And this is why compliments can't convince you for long periods of time of your self-worth. They will for a little bit. Like I said, the kid who, the parent whose mom is always praising him, and she's like, I just don't understand why he didn't want to try out for the team. I tell him all the time what a great kid he is, because it's more deep. It's a deeper thing. Self-esteem is a very deep, complex thing that many people don't understand. And the truth about it is, it honestly, and this is in my line of therapy, of doing therapy with people for 20 years, it can't be generated externally. It cannot come from other people. It must come from you internally. And it has to be, this is really important, it has to be your own standard of esteem. And I do a lot of work one-on-one with people about their values and their priorities. And we'll talk a little bit about that later on, because this is so important, because this is what's going to motivate you to take action. So I use this example, and it was cool. Joette was telling me today, like, oh, that's a really, good example. Your well-being, or your self-esteem, or your confidence that people see on the outside is like a table. So the self-esteem is inside, and then what we see on the external is oh, that person's confidence. So how stable is it? You see the 4 legs around the table. What is holding up right now that table? Is it people telling you that you're doing great at your business? Or is it your family support system? Is it your colleagues? What is keeping you sturdy and stable for your well-being? And, when we think about that, we think, well, yeah, I have support from my family. I've got friends, I've got employees, or I've got, my business that I'm really proud of. And no matter how great those things are, they are only the legs on your table, okay? And if one of them goes out, which usually in my line of work, I've seen sooner or later things quit working. Unfortunately, we have loss. It can be divorce. It could be an actual death. It could be, you know, sooner or later, we're going to, you know, have one of those legs missing. And here's the kicker with a 4-legged table. When one leg's missing, that table is completely not stable at all. So the answer to this is, excuse me, having the marble base in the middle. And that is you. That is your self-esteem. That is self-love that you're giving to yourself. That's the base that we stick underneath that 4-legged table. And no matter what happens to those other legs, that base is still there, okay? And it's holding the center. It's in the center, it's core, it's deep, it's internal, and it's sturdy. And this takes time to build up. And if you think, well, gosh, Nicole, you know, there's no way, I don't even have a marble pillar underneath my table. There is a way to build this up. I mean, this isn't like, oh, it's the end of the game and I can't, you know, build this up. There's a way to do this. So, you know, you guys have heard the term self-love. It's thrown around a lot these days, especially online. You know, there's even tons of courses out for it, and self-esteem courses and products and videos about it. But the only concept I want you to take away from tonight is that it needs to be, how you feel about yourself needs to be consistent. It needs to be the same on your best days or your worst days. And that takes a lot, that takes work, that this doesn't come overnight. And you need to still feel supported, and you have to have that central pillar even if the other legs are giving out. And we're gonna break this down. I'm gonna give you some tips on how to start doing this, because that first bullet right there, feeling the same on your best days or your worst days, that's where we all lose it. We don't, you know, it's hard to do. It is very hard to do. And I'm going to just give you some 5 points tonight on how to get started in building that pillar. And if you already have that pillar, making it a lot stronger for you in the next days to come. And, you know, this year of 2018 for your business and for your family. Sorry, my voice is like kind of shot today. So let me take some water. Okay, check yourself. I want you to read this first line. Every emotion is or can become a habit. I want you to just let that sink in there. And think about, we're going to talk about this a lot, so I'm going to break this down for you. Because we don't think about emotions as habits. We think about, oh, I didn't call that client today. You know, oh, that's a bad habit. I told myself I'd do it in the morning, and then I got around and it's nighttime, and now I want to watch Netflix, so I'll do it tomorrow. We think of like that as a habit. But your emotions are what's driving your habits. Those are an actual habit, the go-to. And I just threw some examples out here: guilt, anger, compassion. I use self-pity a lot when I haven't gotten done what I need to get done, or guilt. Comparison. Facebook is like horrible to get on it when you're not feeling proud about your business, or or at something and you see, you know, someone else killing it on Facebook and talking about how they bought their new house. So what are yours? You know, I wrote in there, mine was anger. Like I would just get angry at myself when I didn't, you know, meet the expectation that I put on myself or whatever. And so the first thing is to really get aware. What are you feeling? Because self-esteem is all about your emotions. It's all about how you're feeling. And my mentor told me, she said, you know, I've been under a mentor for like 7 years. And she said, emotions are meant to be worked through. They are not meant to be lived in. And some of us, and I know for myself, I'll speak for myself, I've lived with habits of emotion, going to anger right immediately, you know, self-sabotage. And so we can change this. That's the beauty. That's the good news of tonight's message, is like everything is doable and changeable and workable. So the main thing I want for tonight is for you guys to just start being aware of this stuff. Just start checking yourself. I mean, that's like the main thing. Like, how am I feeling right now? Like I didn't get that client, or I gave them the price and they didn't want to pay. Or I'm still working my other job and I'm trying to do balloons on the side. And, you know, I immediately go to guilt because I don't spend enough time with my family, or whatever it is. So we can retrain our emotions, but we've got to identify them first. Okay. And there's a little key here. The last bullet says movement. and it's called the eye scramble technique. And I'm going to give you like a couple other techniques too later on in the training. So let's say comparison. That's a one for me that still gets me. So I'll get online and I'll see, one of my hustler friends. Oh, me and the family we're on vacation. Okay, that's a big one for me because I love traveling. And so, even Joette talking about going to California, I'm like, oh man, I want to go with her so bad next month, like, please take me. and so, I'll sit there and I'll be like, dang, this guy was doing the same thing I was doing. And he was at podcast movement and now he's got this. And I have no clue, what else this guy has done or what he's portraying. But immediately I'll feel shame, actually, is one of the feelings. Or, I won't even go to self-pity. It's almost like shame, like, dang, Nicole, you should have done more. You should have been doing this too and this, that. So what the eye scramble is, it's a technique where all it's doing, and you might have heard like Tony Robbins sometimes will talk about this, is getting you back to a neutral state. Because what happens is when we get in these emotions of guilt or self-pity or comparison or anger, we get stuck in them and we just go with it. I mean, we'll go with it for hours and then we'll go to bed and we'll sit there and think about it in the middle of the night, and we'll wake up in the morning and have our coffee and start thinking about it again and feeling that emotion again, whatever the trigger was, again, I want to be traveling, or I want to, whatever it is. I'm not really using great examples right now, but so the eye scramble is just a really fun technique and it actually does work. Hypnotists teach this, where you basically move your eyes around and you hum or sing a song like Happy Birthday. So you would, it looks a little silly, but you're like, happy birthday to you. And you're moving your eyes around and it just the movement gets you out of that state of emotion immediately. Like it puts you back in a neutral state because there's like triggers in your brain where it just switches on to another side of not feeling guilty. Now we're going to talk about self-talk here in a minute. And again, that goes back to the script you're telling yourself over and over again to get back to that feeling of guilt or emotion or whatever. But this will help you if you are aware and you recognize it. It helps you if you say, nope, I'm not going there. I've actually had to do that out loud and say, nope, I control my thoughts. You 100% control your thoughts. 100%. I tell my kids this all the time. You have 100% control of what you're thinking in your head and how you're feeling about what you're thinking. And so this is just a fun little tactic. And I'll go through some more later on that you can do. And just try it. I mean, seriously, like you're mad because you and your boyfriend broke up and you see this hot girl at the gym and you think of him being with her and immediately you start feeling bad. Just do the eye scramble. I promise you it will put you in a neutral state. Comparison gives you a sense of confidence that is very temporary. And I'm going to explain that. What that is I may be totally on when I'm out publicly speaking to people locally in Lakeland area. I might feel completely confident. I know Joette, I know these people, I am on. But the minute I step into a huge Hollywood studio full of, actors and actresses, and I'm supposed to go speak and do a little improv or something, my confidence is down the window because I'm in a different room with different people. So it's very temporary. And comparison is saying, well, I can do it here, but now that I'm on a level with Hollywood people, I'm out. I'm scared to death. I can't. And that just shows you how temporary external confidence is. And it is a self-esteem killer. So, and this is the pattern, the loop that most people live in their whole entire lives. Literally, I'm not kidding. I've done counseling for 20 years and I've seen this cycle of just, oh man, I could do it here, but over there I can't do it. Or I can, pitch to this guy, but that to men, no way. I don't want to pitch to them. And remember in the beginning when I said you recognize confidence because they're on no matter what. They can enter any room. They can go up and talk to any stranger. Okay. That's self-esteem. That's when they know I'm not afraid and I can do it in any place. But confidence will be very temporary. High self-esteem doesn't compare itself to people. And this is a process, and this is a journey to get to. And I am still a work in process, because, you know, when you're in business and you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to be, you know, make your business work and you're trying to scale it, or, you know, get more clients, that's hard when you're talking to your other fellow people and they're like, yeah, I just got 5 clients this week. And you're like, oh yeah, I got maybe 1, you know. It's hard. And it's something that it's a process. You're going to have to keep climbing that ladder to get there. High self-esteem celebrates all people. And I'm telling you, again, that eye scramble thing, put yourself in a neutral place. Jealousy is another emotion that is very close to comparison and self-pity even. And so when you see that, do the eye scramble and be like, oh, you know what? That person's got really good qualities too. They're awesome too. You know, because it's celebrating everyone. It's not just, you know, it's us and them and I want to get to the top and keep them at the bottom. That's for a lot of people that just have really low self-esteem. True confidence or self-esteem. This is actually, they've done studies on this, and this is some of the material that they've taken from research on self-esteem. You think clearly when you have high self-esteem. Clarity is power, okay? Anybody that can make things happen, they think clearly because they know themselves. They've processed their emotions. They know what they're thinking. They're very aware. You hear that word self-awareness. People with high self-esteem are very self-aware. And that's all I do now is I do personal development. I teach people how to become more self-aware because that's the #1 starting point. The second one, they have the ability to cope with the challenges of life. Even if, you know, we have an EMP and there's disaster and war and everything, they would be able to cope with it and possibly help other people in the midst of chaos or crisis. This one's amazing. #3, the ability to trust oneself. That's probably the second biggest issue I find in counseling with people. Is they not only do they not trust their employees or their spouse or their kids, they don't trust themselves. So it's like, of course you don't trust them. You don't even trust yourself. So that's a huge one. And people with high self-esteem trust themselves even when they make mistakes. So making a mistake and trusting yourself isn't the same thing. Remember what I said earlier. On my worst day, I still feel the same way about myself as I do on my best day. Okay, that's where you're going to see the difference between high self-esteem and low self-esteem. The fourth one is really important, this last one. True self-esteem, like high self-esteem, is more than a feeling or a judgment about yourself. It's a motivator. This is what gets you out of bed. This is what makes you go talk to the client. This is what makes you say, I charge $500 and that's my fee. You know, and if you're qualified to work with me, that will be a good fit. This is what is literally the foundational pillar that motivates people to do stuff. And when they aren't motivated, they need to check themselves. They don't need to check. I mean, we do need to check our environment, but we really need to check inside first. What is going on with me? What emotional habit do I have going on right now? So it is a motivator. That's huge. So what can we do to raise it? You're like, Nicole, you've told me all this information. Please give me some good news. Okay. #1, pay attention to self-talk. And I use Joette, you know, yours truly, you're this wonderful leader. These are questions that she was thinking of, and she wrote these in the, you know, the ad for this class tonight. These were what was running through her head. And it's hilarious because I know her and I'm thinking, I can't even imagine her even thinking this. Like, I know this woman. And she's like a powerhouse, right? But this is what ran through her head when she first got started. You know, who am I to run? That happened to me too. That was my question. Who am I to run a business? I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't know anything about having employees. Like, who am I? I don't know how to do this. I'm scared as, you know, all get out here. I don't have a business degree. I mean, I had a counseling degree, but, you know, in the business world, that's like a joke. They think you're like some woo-woo, you know, therapist. So they laugh at that. Especially when you're talking to like venture capitalists or something. I don't have the right clothes. Total. I can relate to that for sure. Who's going to want to talk to the balloon lady? I'm too overweight or fat to fit in a networking event. No one's going to talk to me. No one's going to talk to me. I have been at huge high level conferences where I'm like, oh snap, I've had that running through my head. Am I going to be sitting in the corner, looking at my phone? And so, and this last one is for sure, I think everybody goes through, this client isn't going to pay me the $1,000 for the balloon quote. And the crazy thing is, when you think that, you will see the fruit of it. You'll see it manifest. I mean, I'm not huge into law of attraction or any of that, but I do believe there is some truth to it. I do believe that, like, when you say a quote with your voice, like if it quivers, or if you're like, well, and I mean, even your body language, if you're looking at, well, I charge $500 for the first thing. And then, immediately, what makes the customer, it makes the customer feel like, man, I don't know if I want to trust this person with my business. And I'm telling you, I've lived this stuff. So that's why I teach it. I've gone from that person looking down, quoting the quote, to, hey, these are my packages. This is straight out of the box. This is what I charge for the first hour. And this is what we're going to charge in this mastermind or whatever. And I am like purely confident of these are the results you're going to get. The difference, and I'll ask people, how did you feel with that scenario? How did you feel with this one? They're like, man, I felt like, let's do this. Like, I'm excited. I trust this person because they're confident and they know what they're doing. And it's very subconscious. It's a very subconscious thing, but we need to get aware of it. We need to get conscious of it and really know what we're saying to ourselves. This is just an example back to what we were earlier talking about an emotion being a habit. So, you have the situation and what's happening, and we're going to talk about triggers in a minute here too. So this goes along with triggers as well. I don't like this example, but the project's due tomorrow. But I want you to kind of just see the example. The thought is, man, I don't feel like doing this. My show is on TV tonight. I'm watching The Americans or Homeland on Netflix. I shouldn't have to do this. This stupid project. The emotions, irritation would probably be mine. I don't know about sadness. And then this is really good. Body sensations, fatigue. Remember I said confidence is a motivator. What's your impulse? Go to sleep. I'm hitting the ice cream in the freezer. A lot of men I work with, they just say, well, I just shut down. I just don't even want to deal with it, and that's just a really kind of shallow example, but I just want you to see, like, that's how it goes. And a lot of times we say, oh, Nicole, I know this stuff. I know, I took a psych class, in college. I know this. But the funny thing is, we say we know it, but yet we still do the cycle every day and still don't get the results we want, or don't get the clients we want, don't get the money that we want to be making, and we wonder why. And we're like, you know what? I don't know what's going on. Maybe this business isn't for me. I've had clients tell me that. Well, maybe I just can't do this, business. And then they go on to something new and they're dealing with the same issue. Well, maybe this wasn't for me. Same with relationships. People do the same thing in relationships. They just go from one to the next. And they keep saying, well, maybe that wasn't the right person. We got to start being aware. The second one is so important. This is so huge. And I can totally testify that this works as a result. Like, I have literally had an accountability partner every Wednesday for the last 3 or 4 years, I think. And literally I have the same paper. We type it out while we're talking every week for a half hour. Hey, how did you grade your week? I had an 8 today. Okay. And he lives in London. So we Skype, or we'll just call and over Facebook. And he'll say, okay, my week was a 9. Here's what I'm working on. And I already know what he's working on because he sent it to me from last week. I did this. I didn't get this done. I did this. I'm still working on this. I'm going to have, and then at the end of his thing, he'll tell me, this is what I'm going to have done next Wednesday when we meet at the same time every week. And I'm telling you, I could turn that into a product and sell it because it works so much. And I can tell you, there was times where, like, Monday and Tuesday night, I was like, oh snap, I better get my stuff ready because Matthew's going to ask me if I got it done. And I already told him I was going to do it, so I better get it done. So you're saying, well, Nicole, what does that have to do with self-esteem? Well, here's the thing. it builds confidence. There is some part in the beginning when I said achievements and like being able to check off the box and said, hey, I called 3 clients today. I did it. You know, I made 3 sales, or whatever your thing was. The problem is people won't do it on their own. They won't, even if you tell your friend, oh yeah, I'm going to do it, or tell even Joette, yep, Joette, I'm going to get those clients for you next week. They're not, because they know Joette's not going to ride their butt. She's not going to give them a consequence. Me and Matthew, I remember when I first met him, 50 Shades of Grey had come out. I have never seen that movie. And no offense if any of y'all have. If y'all are into it, that is awesome, because I think it's a great title and I could say a lot about the book. But our thing is, if we didn't carry it through, one of us, we had to go see that movie. That was like, if we didn't get our stuff done, that was the consequence. So we actually had like, we called it a consequence, or what did we call it? Something like if we didn't get done what we needed to get done. And then after a while, we kind of quit doing that. But we made sure that we talked to each other every week and tell each other, this is what I'm working on, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm telling you, it does do something, because I started noticing every week, man, I got this done. Oh my gosh, I got this project. I went and prepared this. I said I wanted to write an ebook, and I wrote it. It was just crazy. And it built an inner confidence in me, a motivation in me, and it kept me on track. The biggest thing about self-esteem is, what do we not want to do? We don't want to deal with it. We don't want to, we get stuck. And so we don't take action. So this is so big, and I can't tell you enough how much it's changed my life. So just take action. And the next slide I have here, public declaration. My first coach, who I paid $3,000 a month for, was huge into this. And he did not play. I mean, there was like, I had to do the stuff, and I had to do it scared, because I was scared most of the time. I was like, I don't have the confidence for this. I don't have the self-esteem for this. But because he was holding me accountable, he's like, no, you can do this. And I don't care if you think you can do it or not, you're going to do it. And a lot of people don't like that approach. But I knew I was so serious about me growing that I wanted to invest in myself. And so he said, put a public declaration out, put on Facebook that you're going to make a video and you're going to post it on YouTube in the next day. And so I'd be like, oh snap, I've never done a video before in my life, you know? And he would walk me through how to do the video and whatever. And so I'd feel a little, confident in myself, but it taught me to start trusting myself and saying, you know what, you're okay whether the video bombs or not. I still felt good about myself and about that I did it. And so just publicly declaring, again, as another accountability tip, to just put it out there and say, yeah, you know what, Joette, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to send it to you in a month, and you're going to see my quick ebook on how to, get into the business, balloon business. So it's huge. And you guys might be like, that sounds crazy, Nicole. I don't know if I could ever do that, but think about it, because I'm telling you, if you're serious about growing personally, you'll see your business grow. Things are cultivated from the inside out. When you plant a seed, you put it in the ground. It goes deep in the ground and you water it. Then it grows out. Then you see the results. Then you see the fruit. You're not going to do it any other way. You're just not. I don't care what anybody says. You can't poof a fake magic tree unless it's a Christmas tree, and that's already dead. And you decorate it and it turns brown. Okay. And then you throw it out by the trash with the decorations on, which I saw, by the way, this year. I couldn't believe it. Someone threw out, it had the lights on and the decorations on. I was like, what the heck? Okay. Number 3, know your triggers. If there's a certain person that triggers you into an emotional habit, or it's a client that you don't like working with, get rid of them. I don't care if you need the money. Okay. Get rid of the client because if it's, you got to work out, okay, why is this happening? I had a very toxic friend for a while, and he was a business partner. And I remember, every time I was around him, I just felt shame. I would go into the comparison thing. And I'd be like, God, I'm not doing this right. And, he was a total baller, like he was making money and this and that. And I remember thinking to myself, that's a trigger for me. And I need to deal with the self-esteem that's going on. Because I felt shame. I would feel shame, like you're not good enough. You're not, like all those things that I showed in the front. So know what your triggers are and know what you're associating, what thoughts are coming with it. It goes all the way back to what the other graph I showed you. The thoughts, the emotion? Is it a habit? Am I immediately going to anger? Well, they don't do this or that. What are those things? Because the more that we can work those out, and to tell you about the friend, it's funny, I'm not as close with that person anymore, but when I'm around them now, I don't feel that shame anymore because I worked it out. I was like, why am I feeling this way? Am I okay? Let me go through the steps and find out what's really going on in me. And when I realized, I was like, you know what? I'm in a totally different niche. I don't even need to compare this is how I feel. And I feel good about what I'm working on, regardless of what they say. I'm okay. And it was a process. It didn't happen overnight. But again, I was aware of it and I knew my triggers. I knew the emotional habits I had around it. I knew I was educating myself and I was taking action. And so just know your triggers. Know what kind of routines do you have that are making you not succeed in your business. Is it, well, I don't get started till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Again, that's more environment stuff, but it does affect your self-esteem. I know this for me, if I could literally work in my pajamas every day. So, tonight I'm I'm going to put on lipstick and I'm going to put on makeup because I love getting dressed up when I'm motivated to do that. And so that's a routine now. What I do every morning, I make sure if I am meeting with people and not working from home, I make sure I get up at a certain time. I do certain routines. So again, just knowing what are your internal triggers. I know one guy who said he would lay his clothes out literally right by the bed. So when his feet hit the floor, they were his gym shorts, his gym stuff. He would literally just put it on. He had no choice. And so he would do that. Number 4, feelings versus fact. Okay, in therapy, when I'm meeting with couples or people individually, they'll say, well, Nicole, but blah, 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 blah. And I'll say, is that true? Is it really true? Because just because you feel it and it feels so true, does that mean the fact associated with it is true? So what I wrote here is unhealed wounds cause us to develop these false heart beliefs or lies within us. You're not worthy. You can't do this stuff. You're not capable. You don't have what it takes. You don't have a business degree, kind of like what Joette was saying earlier. And a heart belief is deep. That is really deep stuff in there. That's, the shame and the lies. And it's how we truly feel and believe despite what we know. So, you might have your spouse telling you, man, honey, you're great at this balloon stuff. I see you out there working hard. And you're sitting there going, yeah, but I've got one client, and so you're looking at facts and you're looking at your feeling and how you're feeling about it. And you're like, I don't know what's true. I use this example because it's good to separate out, the facts to your feelings. And I use an example of my sister who was anorexic bulimic for a long time, probably 20 years. Long time. She went in a couple rehabs for it. And I remember her being 88 pounds and her saying, I just feel so fat. And it's just a good example because she's 88 pounds and she's actually taller than me. She's 6 foot. And it's that's not true. You're actually not fat. The fact is you're actually not a bad business person. Even though you're feeling that way. Again, it's just separating out. Is this shame that I'm feeling? Is this guilt that I'm feeling? Is this anger that I'm feeling because I can't get to where I want to be? And what is actually true? And I do that a lot in therapy. It's a little bit more of a deeper work. Probably something I won't be able to get into tonight, obviously, but it's something to be aware of, to ask yourself, is that true? I mean, I just do it all the time. And it makes you dig a little bit deeper to kind of separate out, how am I feeling this? And what are the real facts here? And get a friend. I mean, gosh, if I hadn't had my mentor and counselor friends where I could kind of bounce off things, I don't know where I'd be, to be honest with you. So this isn't something you want to do alone. Number 5, using visualization is huge. And again, I'm not into the name it and claim it and just visualize it and it'll poof out of nowhere. I mean, there is work to be done, okay? But there is something about having a vision. And, I am a Christian and I do believe without a vision, if you're shooting just randomly and you don't have a target, you're not going to hit much. You might hit a tree over here or something over there, but if you don't actually see something ahead of you, you'll just kind of be shooting randomly around, and that's what I see a lot of people do in their business, to be honest with you. I see a lot of people just saying, well, yeah, I just want to, get this amount of money. And I said, well, who's your client? Well, I've got some men over here and some women here and some churches here and schools here. And I'm like, yeah, who's actually your client? Like, who are you shooting for? Who are you trying to, hit with the sales or with your message or whatever that is? So I love Conor McGregor. He's an MMA fighter. I don't know if you know anything about that, but he really comes off as being this like super egomaniac jerk, and he's actually, I could see why people think he comes off like that. But this is the crazy thing. I've studied this guy. And this guy literally, when he is talking trash, because that's kind of part of the MMA culture, they talk trash and I'm going to get you in the ring and I'm going to, blah, blah, blah. But literally, he will actually say what he's going to do. And he says it because he's seen it in his eye. He's like, I know, I've felt it so hard. And he didn't start out like this. So he's actually an inspiration, because if you watch his videos from when he first started out, he's like, yeah, I'm still learning MMA. I'm learning fighting and I'm going to try this. He's like, but he says this when he was young. He's like pimply face, young, not big and cut like he is now. He's like, but I'll tell you this. He said, I will be one of the world's most famous MMA fighters. You will hear me. And it's so funny because I do that. I'll look at my husband. I'll say, let me tell you something. You will see me up there on that stage. You will see my name one day. And it's not really like to be cocky or arrogant, but it's just to like put it out there. I do believe in speaking things and just visualizing. I do want to help. I was thinking this today. I was like, man, if I had time, to be honest with you, yeah, I would travel, but I want to travel and like build wells and help starving. There's no reason people should be starving. And I was just thinking of all these things, and I thought, I am going to do this. I thought that today. I thought, I am going to do that. When I start building these multiple streams of income, which is one of my goals for this year, different streams. I have a couple streams now, but I want a specific amount of streams. And I'm like, I have some huge things I want to work on. And so visualizing, so he would visualize, he'd say, I'm going to knock him down. He's going to pull me over. He'd actually say what the opponent would do to him. He's like, and then I'm going to flip him over. And by the 10th, he'd be like, by the 3rd round, I'm going to win. And I'm not kidding. If you follow his career, that guy almost, I think there was like one fight that he didn't, one or two. And every other one that he did, literally to the T, it went down the way he said it. And they actually have it on proof. They have it on video. So that's the crazy thing about this. So there's something to be said about visualization. And I love what he says here. This is comparison. I don't worry about my opponent or their game. I worry about my game. And I was a cross-country runner in college. I had a scholarship. And I remember telling myself, I'm running against myself. I'm running against my time, not anybody else's. And, most sports, you're playing against teams and you guys win and the other people win. But running's different. Running it's against me and the clock. And I'm not worried that the people are passing me. I'm gonna worry about my time against the clock, against how fast I can run. And honestly, guys, our biggest enemy is ourselves. That's really who we need to be worrying about, our game, not anybody else's. My friend, this is a great story. I work with her right now. She has a huge juicing company called Juicing Recipes or Juice Recipes. And she said, Nicole, she's been through a lot, like cancer, lupus. She's like, I lost weight. I forgot how much it was, like 30 or 40 pounds in a certain amount of time. It was kind of crazy. And she said, I had this inspiration board in front of me, not this one particularly, but she had an inspiration board. There's something, again, about having something in your face, the visualization of saying, this is what I want to do. And not just a written out goal. Okay. That's okay. But like pictures, I have a huge picture of Australia. Now I've been to Australia, but there's Greece is where I want to go. Like I am going to go to Greece. Like I don't care if I go when I'm 90 years old, I'm going to be there. So there's pictures of Greece, there's things that just having it in your face produces this thing that you're saying, I'm going there. The thing about self-esteem is it's got to have movement to it. It's got to have growth. It's scaling up. Like we're talking about raising your self-esteem. So we want to do all these 5 things so that we can actually start raising our self-esteem, because the more you raise your self-esteem, hear this, the higher your skill level goes. okay? The higher your skill level goes. So the more you raise your self-esteem, the higher your skill level goes, the more clients you get, the better results you get. They're more meaningful because you're not doing it because you just need a quick buck. You're not chasing the dollar. You're doing it because you actually feel good about what you do. And we can talk, that'd be a whole nother webinar is, how to really feel good about what you do. I don't know what that red thing is on my computer screen. Do you see that, Joette? That's weird. Okay, so let's review. The number one is really the most key. Pay attention to your self-talk. And I mean, write this stuff down. I remember one friend saying she'd look in the mirror every day and be like, man, you're ugly. She would just say that. She'd just hear it in her head. She'd go, oh man, you got this there and this and that, And then she said, she did a lot of work with me. And she said, I remember going in the mirror one day and I didn't hear anything. And she said it was like huge breakthrough, huge. So write that stuff down, dude. And one time I did this, I wrote down all my negative self-talk. And then I wrote down, I am a Christian, I wrote down what I feel, how God sees me, and how I see myself. And I'm not kidding. If I could find it, I should have taken a picture and showed it to you guys. The negative self-talk literally it was literally like a different handwriting. And the positive self-talk looked completely different. And it came from me like at one time. It wasn't like I waited a day and wrote the other thing. I literally wrote it one page, then wrote the next page, 2 totally different handwritings. So it's just interesting how our brains actually process negative emotions and negative thoughts. And they are habits. They are absolutely habits. I see it in my kids. I see it with myself. I see it in they are habits. And we have to, in order to confront and change, in order to change them, we have to confront it. We got to challenge it and we got to call it out and say, you know what? No, I control this and I'm not doing this anymore. And I remember having a resolve, man, where I'd just be like, you know what? I'm not putting up with this anymore. I'm not doing this. I'm not hanging out with toxic people anymore. You are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. If you want to make $1 million, go hang out with millionaires. If you're the smartest person in the room, get out of the room because you need to get in a room where other smart people are, okay? Way smarter than you. Like, I don't want to hang out with people that, our tendency is to hang out with people that just do the same thing we do. No, level up because that's how we're going to grow. And remember the seed, it's got to go deep. It's got to go in the ground to come up as a tree. Get an accountability partner. This can be a free thing, man. You don't need to pay. I don't pay for mine. Me and him do it for free. But someone who's going to commit, they really got to commit. And it's so funny because me and him we're not in the same niche at all. We're in 2 totally different niches. So they don't need to be in the balloon niche. Know your triggers. It's huge. If you're in a bad place, get out of it. Like if you're in a bad environment constantly, it will affect your business. It'll affect your self-esteem. Know your triggers. Feelings versus facts. What is true? Is this really true? Even though I'm feeling this way, does that mean it's true? Just because you're feeling a certain way. And sometimes you need a counselor or someone to help you unpack some of that stuff because that's old wounds. And old wounds will tell you lies. They'll tell you lies. And they'll lie to your feelings, or they'll lie and tell you the facts are different and they're not. So some of that, if you suffer like from confusion about how you feel about stuff, and ambivalence is a big thing where, I love you, but I hate you. I love this business, but I hate this business. Now, granted, as an entrepreneur, you will go through that a lot, but being clear, remember what I said in the beginning, clarity is power. So, people with high self-esteem are clear. And Joette introduced me and she said, Nicole tells it like it is. I'm very clear about what I know, what I think, what I do, and what I believe. I'm very clear about it because I've worked this stuff out for years and I'm still working it out. I have not arrived. Visualization, inspiration board, get it in your face, put a picture up, what do you want to do? Take a picture of yourself, where you were the most proud and you were like, that's it. I was feeling, how was I feeling? What was I thinking? What was I doing? This is a deeper thing. It's going to take work. This stuff seems kind of external and shallow, but it's really not. It's actually not if you do it. You can read it and it'll be very external and shallow. But if you actually do it, I promise you, you will start to see changes. I promise you. This book, I'm going to just warn you, it's dry in the sense that, and I teach at the college in Lakeland here, So I am an adjunct professor. So I kind of like nerdy books that go through and sound like a textbook. This book kind of sounds like a textbook, but I'm telling you, there's like bits and pieces in it that is like life-changing. So this book I would highly recommend as a resource for helping your self-esteem. And when you start, I listen to books on Audible because I don't have a lot of time to read. I do still read. But you listen to it, and it's funny because he talks about relationships and how low self-esteem attracts low self-esteem. Like, you don't see someone with super high self-esteem dating someone with really, really low self-esteem. He said it really actually never really happens. And when you start listening to him, you'll be like, oh, man. Like, I remember listening to it for the first time. It's an old book. I remember being like, oh, man. But what's cool is when you start working on personal development, you start seeing yourself grow. And you may not see it right away because it's hard to see yourself growing, but other people will see it. Other people will be like, wow, you dress different. You talk different. You're out there. I can't believe you went and did that. I can't believe you went and did that. Other people will see it, especially your loved ones. So I highly recommend that book. I always recommend a book usually when I'm speaking. And wow, I did it. I don't know what time it is. It's almost 10.
9:51.
Yeah, I did good. Okay. I felt like I was going a little fast, but we can do Q&A, and I'm going to drink some water.
Sounds great. So guys, this is the part of the time that if you want to go ahead and let us see your smiling faces and be a part of the conversation in the classroom, you can, or you can also unmute yourself and ask a question about the content that was presented. So feel free to ask away.
Hey, do you want me to stop sharing the screen or no?
Actually, in case somebody has a question about a particular slide, maybe go ahead and keep it on just in case.
Sure.
All right, guys, you always have questions. So feel free. Go ahead. Who is this?
Oh, it's Sharon.
Hey, Sharon.
Hi. So how do you find these accountability partners? Where is the best place to look? You don't want to just throw it out there onto social media, so.
Right. It's true. First, I would recommend if you have people within, like your work or other entrepreneurs that are working on other things, I would start there because at least you know them. So like Matthew, I had interviewed on a podcast. We really clicked because I would say you do want to work with someone who, you somewhat are agreeable with each other. There is some groups that I could actually post to Joette and post in your thing that you guys could sign up for. I'm trying to think if there's a cost. I don't know if there is or not, but I could actually use that as my resource. And one of them is Matthew, my partner's group. So I would totally trust, because that's what he wanted to do. When he saw how much it worked for us, he wanted to start connecting people to their accountability groups. And I'm sure there's other groups that do that, but he's the one I would recommend for you. But I would start out in your own, community. It could even be someone at church who's working on a book, and maybe they have, and that was the other thing I meant to say. We did 3 points, or sometimes I would only have 2, because I wasn't working on as much as he was. So, but he only had 3. You don't do any more than 3. So like mine was starting my podcast, the one that I started now, doing an ebook, and then a course that I was working on. And so every week there was different layers of that I would say, well, I'm going to work on this, or I'm going to have a meeting with, Joette, and we're going to talk about getting a speaking gig to market the book. So just be stuff like that. Don't overthink it. It doesn't need to be some formal, very, precise thing, but honestly, consistency is the key. So like we did it hump day Wednesdays at 12:30 every Wednesday. And if we missed, because, we travel and he's in London, so that was fun doing time change, we would email each other our stuff. We would write it out. This is what I accomplished this week, and this is what I'm working on for next week. So that's what we would do. And you can even do that, if you can't do the phone thing every week. But the phone thing is better just because it's in your face. Again, it's someone holding you accountable. Does that help, that answer?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's good. I really think that helps to have someone who you're accountable to, Because
Yeah.
it's easy to set out your goals, and I do all the things. I always try to put into practice what Joette says, but
Yeah.
having someone really that I have to be accountable to is
Yeah.
really going to make a difference, I think.
And maybe in this group, you know, maybe you guys can hook up or find someone compatible. That would be awesome. Like, honestly, it's really just a time thing. Like, hey, you got 25 minutes, 30 minutes, you know, you go first every time, and then I go, and we grade our week, and then we go through what we're working on. Yeah, it really is amazing.
And that is something, Sharon, if you don't have someone locally that you'd want to pair up with, we can definitely put that up in Balloon Coach community.
Yeah.
Set up for people to have accountability partners.
That would be perfect, because I don't have anyone locally. Thank you.
Sure, we'll do that. I'll set that up tonight.
That'd be awesome.
Yay. All right. Any other questions from the material this evening?
Don't be shy, guys. Or any takeaways? Does anyone have any takeaways that stuck out to them? I can't see the chat. I don't know.
I'm working on it.
Do you see that red thing in the middle of my screen?
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Is that me? I don't know what that is.
I think you may have drawn with the there's a
I did.
whiteboard, so you may have
That's funny.
used the marker somehow.
I think you're right. I think I did.
One of the things that I know many of the people that I've worked with in the past and that contact me is a lot of them do have the negative self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the, oh, I can't do this. I'm too scared. I don't know what to say when I go up in front of people and I get nervous. When we have that negative self-talk, is there a recipe to follow to stop that, or to replace it with something else?
Well, what I usually do is in therapy, I would ask them, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? What is the worst? I mean, it needs to be, and I make them tell me, like, what do you truly believe? And see, that goes back to separating facts versus feelings. You know, do you believe you're going to literally die on stage if you go out there? And so honestly, it's confronting those irrational beliefs. Because it's not true. They're not going to die, and they're not going to be destroyed. And honestly, that's a lot of people's irrational fear. I'll be abandoned. They fear three things: rejection, loneliness, or abandonment. Those are the three things that in most therapy sessions, people are deathly afraid of, and they don't want to say it. So I would say rejection, probably for the person who's saying, I can't, they're just afraid of being rejected. And so I'll call it out. I'll say, well, okay, so this sounds like rejection. So what's the worst thing? What's going to happen to you? And what does that say about you if you're rejected? So what that's doing is getting underneath the external stuff and really getting to that lie that they believe about themselves. Because you can't put truth on top of a lie. I don't believe in we'll just keep monitoring, you know, good things. I don't believe in that. I believe you need to dig and find that lie and pull it out by the root. So what does that say about you if you feel like you can't do that? Well, okay, and then where does that stem from? Let's go. How old do you feel right now? So I actually do kind of that is my recipe, you know, like, you know, well, I feel like I'm 12 because when I was 12, this happened, you know, and so that's when you can go and heal that unhealed wound. Because what all of those objections are wounds, are things that have put doubt of rejection and shame into our lives, and we literally live them out all the time. And so for me, I'm all, you know me, Joette, I'm all about stopping it. Like forget this. Like, don't just put a Band-Aid. You know, you can't put a Band-Aid on a bullet hole, you know? And so let's take the Band-Aid off and let's really get in there and find out what's the worst thing that's going to happen, and what's going to happen to yourself, your essence, your actual being. Will you be destroyed? No, I won't be destroyed. Will you die? No, I won't die. Okay. Will you be rejected? Yeah, I might. And I am deathly afraid of being abandoned, or, you know, whatever those fears are. So we confront the fear because, you know, you can't run from fear. It just gets bigger. So you actually do have to walk through. Again, I always say your emotions have to be processed through to get past. And so you don't want to stay stuck in them. And those are just loops that people are going over and over in their heads. So anyone listening tonight can ask themselves that, wow, what is the worst thing that's going to happen? And what is that shame lie, you know, that I feel unworthy, or that I feel this, or that I feel I'm not capable. Most men, I hear them all the time say, well, I just don't think I have what it takes. And, you know, that speaks into their manhood, their validation, and, you know, and all of that. And so I'll just confront it and say, how can we, you know, expose it, bring truth to it, and then make them do something. Really, honestly, the accountability and the public declaration, I use that a lot, because even if they feel like they can't do it, still motivating themselves to do it will start building up that self-esteem. It really does.
That's excellent. A lot of people said thank you very much for walking through that, because they do have the fear of rejection and it keeps them from excelling. So the insight about the trigger to figure that out is great. And the next one is just that they're afraid of failing. Yeah.
Yep. And that's just risk aversion. Like we want the lowest risk. I mean, even when you're making a sale, you know, and you're buying as a buyer, you know, you're like, well, what's the guarantee? Can I take it back? What's the what's the receipt? Do I keep it for 30 days? You know, honestly, and again, the only way to overcome that is to just keep doing it and saying, and I have to say this to myself, Nicole, you screwed up big time. You went out and bought a big pink truck. You went into the moving business for a year and you realized how much you hate it and how much work it is. Okay. Which is a true story, guys. And so I felt shame from that. I was like, oh man, I can't believe I gave up on this. I can't believe this. Like, what a failure. And I remember saying it out loud. I love myself just as much as I did before I started this business as I do now. And I felt it. I was like, you know what? That doesn't, because really what the self-esteem is about identity. And so when we get our identity wrapped up in the whole, you know, I'm going to be rejected or I'm going to fail. Again, what does that say about you then? If you do fail, what's the worst thing that can happen? And what does that say about you? What do you believe to be true about you after that? And when you say, well, I believe I'm not worthy to be loved because I failed. A lot of people believe that. It's probably, I would say 95% of people believe that because they feel loved due to their performing. And that's not love at all. Would I do that to my child? My baby has to perform in order to be loved? No, a baby doesn't perform anything. They just are there. They're a delight. So we lost that, you know, as children because we had lots of things happen to us. And so now it's like, especially as entrepreneurs, you better, or else you're not going to be loved. You're not worthy. You're not good enough. And so we have to be able to sit with ourselves and I always tell people this, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we got to look at all three of those. We can't just look at the good and be like, oh yeah, look at this, prop it up. Because once you prop that up, it's just like the table. One of the legs is going to come out sooner or later. Okay. You're going to tick off a client. You're going to bomb an event. Something's going to happen. Something's not going to be perfect, you know? And I work with a lot of artists and they're like married to their work, you know? So it's like, they think it has to be perfect. And I'm like, it's not going to be, it's just not. And even if it is, you know, you putting your self-esteem in a piece of artwork or music isn't real sturdy because eventually people are going to move on to another album, you know, or another painting. So, so there's a lot of breaking that false illusion that, you know, it's got to be perfect and it's got to be. Whenever I start hearing that, then we deal with control. Most people don't want to be out of control. That's actually their underneath the fear of failure is I won't have control. I'll look like an idiot. I'll be out of control. I'll feel powerless. So the other things that come with rejection, abandonment, and loneliness is powerlessness. And in my line of work of therapy, I deal all the time with people feeling powerless. And so those are control issues. And then we have to work on that, you know, because, but again, I would go back to the failure thing, take action. Even if you fail and just keep, I mean, all entrepreneurs would tell you, keep failing and fail fast, just fail fast, which means you fail fast and you get back up. And I'm telling you guys, if you don't have mentors, I mean, I'm so grateful that you have Joette as your coach because it's so important to have that because even if you can just write and get it off, like writing, journaling and saying, I failed at this is how I feel. You know, you can put all the cuss words you want on there and just let it rip. There is something physically that happens when you release that. People don't write with their hand, they type instead. And there's something that happens in your brain that releases toxins, when you're releasing something. Someone ticks you off, write about it. I do it all the time. I just journal. I write to God, I can't believe this, you know, and I won't tell you what I say. And it's like, you know, I get it out and then I'm like, okay, it didn't solve the problem, but I released it. I'm not repressing all these freaking negative emotions. So, and it makes me feel powerful that I can release that. That's being a powerful person.
Excellent. Well, this is a lot of great information, and I am so glad that you came with us tonight to give us these steps and these things to really look at. What I'd like you to do is, can you put up your website for me on the Heart Radio so people can see how to get a hold of you if they would like to learn more from you or check out your podcast?
Yeah, it is actually, oh, I see. You want me to like actually pull up the...
put it up on you.
I was like, what are you talking about? Yes. Did I stop screen share? Yeah.
You did.
Okay, let me do that. So while I'm looking for it and trying to get out of this, it's Get Heart Radio. How do I,
the screen share?
Gotcha. I was trying to exit full. Yeah. It is, getheartradio.com is the name of the site I'm using right now. But there's a tab that says work with me. So if you guys are interested.
And just share screen.
Okay, let me pull that up. All right. Is it sharing it?
Yep, it sure is.
Okay,
so
cool.
getheartradio.com.
Yeah, and go to work with me right here on this tab. I was clicking on it, but I don't know if it's...
Yep. Cool.
It's slow. There you go.
Yay.
So work with me, and we'll just go through, like, you know, I'll do a quick strategy call and you fill out this information, tell me what you want, specifically what you want to work on. I'm a very specific person. So, and if you don't know and you're not clear on it, just say, I'm feeling this way and I'm not really sure. That's fine too, like, because I'll be able to see what the actual thing is we need to work on. So if you want to do that, for sure, let me know. I have different packages and I'll definitely give you guys a discount because that's what I do for Joette. I love her and I'll take good care of her and her people.
Yay. Well, we got it. Thank you so much. I really needed to hear what you had to say now to put it all into practice. So
yes, that's the key. That is the key. Yeah.
It is putting it into practice. So great, guys. I wanted you to see where she's at and how you can get a hold of her. And then the other thing that I want to do as we round out, go ahead and you can stop your screen share.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. All right, great. Cool. So as we finish up, I just wanted to remind folks that if you haven't been on BalloonCoach.com lately, we have a lot of great resources. My free blog that's there under resources, elevated events, the online magazine. I did a lot of different interviews with people over the last year that you can check in there. I don't have any real recent ones because I took a little bit of a break from that as we were focusing on all of our new trainings. But the interviews with people were great because it's testimonies of what people have done to succeed in their businesses. And I hope you'll find that enlightening for you. But I want to take a moment just to reach out and invite you to join us. If you haven't seen this information or haven't thought about it yet, I would love for you to join us in Orlando at Disney Springs, November 12th through the 16th. On the 12th is a bonus day where I'm being able to present one of my bucket list items, which is Disney Institute Business Behind the Magic Tour at Walt Disney World in Disney Springs. The reason I think this is so amazing is typically this is something that Fortune 500 companies come to Orlando and pay a lot of money to be a part of. And you can't just go to Disney and buy a ticket to do this. You have to be part of a group of at least 25 people or more to do this. And I had to sign a contract saying, yes, we're going to have those people and we're going to be there at this event. And it gives you an opportunity to go where only cast members have ever been at Disney and to actually find out about their key concepts on how they've got leadership, service of the employees to be engaged, and how they put things together to have one of the world's largest leading brands, and give you that opportunity to be able to bring that information back to your company. And then our actual retreat will then be the 13th through the 16th. So you can choose to either do it with the bonus or without the bonus. Lunch is included Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Dinner Thursday night. It's going to be amazing because we're putting together 4 photo shoots during the event to give you your hands-on opportunity to work with our instructors, build amazing decor. I will be teaching on fabric decor and lighting, in addition to our balloons and how that all works together for a photo shoot. And all the details are on the website. And you will then leave with all those professional photography for you to download and be able to use for the promotions in your business, on your website, with your clients, and print media, whatever you want. And that's why it's called Promotions and Profits, is we teach you how to work on your business and let you then take away things that help you promote your business to increase your profits when you leave. So check that out. We'd love for you to join us in November. If there's anybody that's on tonight who's going to be at World Balloon Convention in San Diego in 3 weeks, let me know if you'd like a Balloon Coach shirt to wear while you're there, and I'll get you hooked up with that. Nick, thank you so much for taking time to be with us tonight to work on this great topic. And guys, I can't wait to hear your stories of how you've shared this. If you're looking for an accountability partner, I will put it up in our Facebook group called Balloon Coach Community. If you're not a part of that group yet, just ask to join. And you guys take care and have an amazing 2018. We have our next webinar coming up with Karen. The 4th Tuesday of every month is our monthly webinar. And it is going to be about booking yourself solid. And she is an entertainer and decorator out of Baltimore, Maryland, has a fun personality. And I think you guys are going to have a great time. That's a part of our Passport to Success program. So guys, have a great 2018. See you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.